Okay, welcome everybody to today's presentation featuring Century Lithium. My name is Jim McDonald with Torrey Hills Capital. We're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about Century Lithium, an advanced stage lithium exploration company developing its 100% owned Angel Island mine in Nevada. Company trades in the US on the OTCQX under the ticker symbol CYDVF, as well as in Canada on the Toronto Stock Exchange on the Venture Exchange under the ticker symbol LCE. And joining me today from the company, I've got Spiros Cacos, the company's VP Investor Relations. Before I turn the call over to Spiros, just want to go through logistics fairly quickly. Nothing new here, but our webinars are intended to replicate our in-person meetings, which we like and encourage to be as interactive as possible. With that in mind, if you do have questions along the way, please feel free to ask them. The best way to do that is use the navigation pane at the bottom of the screen, click on the Q&A or the chat button. One of us will see that, get those questions presented and answered. If for some reason we don't get to your question fairly quickly, it's not that we don't see it or that we're ignoring it. It's simply that we know that question will be covered in the next 1 or 2 or 3 slides. And so we're going to let the normal course of the presentation answer those questions for you. Alternatively, if you do want to speak with Spiros at any point during the call, we encourage and welcome that also. The only way to do that, again, is to use the navigation pane at the bottom of the screen. Click on the raise hand button. We'll see that. Unmute your microphone and allow for direct conversation back and forth. As with all the webinars that we do, I will remain on throughout, assisting with questions as they come in, but will remove myself from both video and audio so as not to be a distraction to the company or to the presentation. And with that, Spiros, let me turn the controls over to you. Everybody enjoy the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Jim. I'm just going to make the presentation nice and big for everybody. Okay.
Perfect.
Do you see the slide with the notes? There. I think I got to swap it. There you go.
Sorry, I don't see anything yet.
How about now? You see it nice and big?
Maybe it's still loading up there. I don't see anything still.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's try this. Share.
Now it's coming up.
Oh, it's a webinar, right? Technical difficulties here. There we go. How about now?
There you go.
You see the main slide?
Yep.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted to see.
Off we go.
Perfect. Okay. My name, thanks, Jim, for the introduction. My name is Spiros Cacos. I'm the Vice President of Investor Relations with Century Lithium. I've been working for the company now for roughly around 3 years. Joined it's been a bit of a roller coaster ride here. I joined it at, what was it, at 70 cents. Took it to a new 52-week high with the team up to over $2 and around $2.50, raised $40 million. I completed the plan of operation. I mean, the feasibility study. Watched the price of lithium come flying up towards 90,000, and then the price of lithium drops down to as low as 10,000. You know, inflation, global inflation, the war, and the Ukraine pandemic. Everything sets through. Lithium industry kind of collapses, and now we're starting to see some life back into the industry again, so which is good. We all of us have believed in lithium, and that it's here to stay, especially in the major cities. More and more vehicles will be converting slowly into battery electric vehicles. And what as we said earlier in the conversation, we know that most of the world's lithium is owned directly and indirectly by the Chinese, who consume roughly around 90% of the world's lithium. So there's theories are out there that they're keeping the price of lithium down low to prevent North American companies from going into production. But that's not going to stop us. With the help of the Department of Energy, Department of Defense, they're really stepping in and assisting lithium companies. And also, we're seeing the last 2 weeks, we've seen the industry kind of turn around with Rio acquiring Arcadium, And of course, this morning, the announcement that General Motors is coming in, fulfilling their contract with Lithium America's Thacker Pass project, which is just north of our project in Nevada, and putting in $625 million. And that is going to unlock the key to unlock the door that allows the Department of Energy to give the company, the project, an additional $2.3 billion in low interest loans, which will be used to bring this project towards production. So yeah, clay projects are real. Clay projects are coming towards production. It's just a matter of years. And our project is in central Nevada. It's just a couple hours south of where 3 hours south of where Thacker Pass is. And the main screen that you're seeing here, that's our project. The little mountain range you see, I don't know if you can see my mouse here right in front. This is Angel Island. And this is why we call our project Angel Island Mine, because this project here, it makes it quite different than all the other Clayton Valley projects that are out there. There's a lot of small companies call themselves Clayton Valley Lithium projects. This is quite distinct because of this feature. Across the other side of Angel Island is the only lithium producing project in North America. That is the Silver Peak operation. It's a small brine operation project owned by Albemarle. The claystone that we see, it's at surface. It's here. It's the light gray material that you see up here. That's lithium claystone, and it goes down to about 100 or 150 meters deep below surface. Let me just go forward here. Our team, I won't say too much about the board and management. We've over the past couple of years, the board has been evolving. We've got more independent and more technical board members have joined the project. Ken Owen, Corby Anderson, of course, have come on board and really providing that technical engineering that we've required. One thing I want to say about management is all of us here on management have direct experience with working in Nevada, and all of us have had experience taking projects either from exploration all the way towards production. And that includes myself. I've worked for a producing silver company for about 5-6 years. Share structure: 150 million issued outstanding, 156 million fully diluted. Market cap 60 million. It's about 65 million right now. We still have $10.5 million in our treasury, so that's enough money for us to kind of carry on all the way down towards production. So we're not in desperate need of cash. We're not burning money and running out of money. Obviously, we like to have more cash in the bank, but we'd like to see our share price increase by a lot before we ever try to raise any equity. We're covered by various analysts. I think, Jim, you've shared some of these with various parties of interest. We're covered by PI Financial, Alliance Global, Noble Capitals, and of course, out of the UK, Hallgarten Company. I won't say too much about lithium. We all know it's a critical mineral, but I do want to point out one thing. People always ask me, well, the US is currently in an election year. What will happen to the lithium industry if President Trump becomes elected, right? And that's a concern. And some people are kind of stepping aside, waiting for the elections to come forward with their results before they kind of dip their feet, their toes back into the lithium space. But I just want to remind everybody that it was under the President Trump's administration that lithium became a critical mineral. So all politics aside, I'm Canadian, so I don't vote in the U.S., but it doesn't matter if President Trump comes in. He's the one that's, like I said earlier, that said that lithium needs to be a critical mineral. If we find it in the United States, it needs to stay in the United States, and that argument was carried through by Prime Minister Trudeau in Canada and by President Biden out of the United States, which both have activated various programs to help companies move their projects towards production. And we today are working with the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense to obtaining various low-interest grants and of course, low-interest loans and grants from the federal government to bring this project forward. A question that some people have asked me is like, hey, you're a Canadian company. Can you get U.S. Money? It's a U.S. project. It's the ownership of the company is irrelevant. Thacker Pass is, you'd say, Lithium America is a Canadian company as well, but their offices are in the U.S. They have offices in Canada. We have offices in the U.S. We have offices in Canada. So we trade in the U.S. So it really doesn't matter as long as the project is in the United States. That's where the Department of Energy is looking to give its low interest loans, and of course the Department of Defense for various grants. Just moving forward, what makes us different than the hundreds of lithium companies that are out there? For one, we're a clay project, right? We have one of the largest lithium deposits in North America. We're one of the most advanced projects in the United States as well. We're the third most advanced projects in the state of Nevada. I'll talk about that in a little bit later. And Nevada, I should point out as well, is a tier 1 jurisdiction, which means it has been named by the Fraser Institute as the best place in the world to take a project towards production, to permit a mine. It's the best place in the world to permit a mine. And obviously we see ourselves as a more of a brownfield project because we're adjacent to an operating lithium project, but also we're surrounded by various, silver and gold mines that are in the area. So, and another key thing that makes us different than everybody else is our low operation costs. Our OpEx is at $2,700. That is significantly lower than most other projects, which tend to be in the claystone area around $7,000 to $8,000. It's not even as high as $9,000 per ton. So this project's OpEx is really almost like a brine project, right? It's really, really, really cheap. Okay. Our pilot plant, we've been operating now for over 3 years. It's safely. I should point out that we're running it at about a ton per day. So it's almost at a pre-production level. We do use DLE, direct lithium extraction. We're working with Coke Technology Solutions on that. And just to say a couple words on that, with regards to Coke, we used to work with a company called Chemionics. When we announced the results of our DLE results of 95%, Coke acquired Chemionics and became our partner. A year later or 6 months later, they updated the system and calling it LiPro. We adapted it to our project and it works amazingly. So we're really, really pleased with that, and we're very happy having Coke Technologies as part of our team on DLE. And I should point out that we now are producing lithium carbonate on site, and there's very, very few projects in North America that they'll take the mineral and then produce the product all on site. So we're doing that at our pilot plant right now. As the opening slide showed, it's dry, it's Nevada, it's hot, water is a necessity, but I need to point out here that we do have our own water rights permit for the valley. We acquired that about 2-3 years ago, and we have enough water to bring the project forward into production for the first phase. And the water that we do use is natural brine water, so we're not taking water away from farms and communities. This is natural brine water, which of course cannot be, you can't use that, can't drink it. And last but not least, we produced battery grade lithium carbonate on site multiple times now over the past few years, and we've shown the community that we have the ability to continuously or repeatedly make high purity lithium carbonate. Okay, here's the map. You see my cursor here, the state of Nevada. There's Reno, there's Vegas, where the Angel Island mine is right in between Reno and Vegas. Our pilot plant's just about an hour and a half north of Las Vegas. Taking a closer look at the project, this is our project here. And this blue, there's Angel Island that sticks out right there. And this blue you see here on the screen, that's Albemarle Silver Peak brine operation. Okay, so we're adjacent to that. The key thing I want to point out on this slide is that this red line that everybody sees here, that is the Greenlink West planned 525 kilowatts kV power corridor. This is being built by the state of Nevada. It's going from Vegas all the way up north, up to Reno and beyond. It's already started construction, and it's going to go right beside our project, right? So, which means that not only do we have access to power, but you'll see various solar panels will be attaching onto that power corridor, which to feed it. And we too are planning to do the same thing by using solar energy to kind of offset the use of power from the grill, to at least during peak hours between 12 and say 6 o'clock in the afternoon and 6 o'clock in the evening. Earlier, I mentioned that we were the third most advanced project. The most advanced project would be Lithium America's Thacker Pass, which is currently in construction. And as I said earlier, LAC received their green light from General Motors, giving them a $625 million. And that's going to unlock the Department of Energy to give them $2.3 billion in low interest loans. When Ioneer completed its feasibility study a couple of years ago on Violet Ridge, they received $800 million, I believe, from the Department of Energy to help bring their project forward as well. They might have to redo their feasibility study. I don't want to say too much about them. I'm hoping for the best, but they've changed how their mind. So if they redo their feasibility study, depending what their capex is, they get to apply for from the DOE. And the DOE, the rule of thumb is that they're willing to provide up to 80% of your total capex and low interest loans. So whatever your price, whatever your capex is, 80% of that can be come in for low interest loans. And we just completed our feasibility study in the spring of this year, and our pilot plant's been activated now. Been working for 3 years, and we've commenced talking with the Department of Energy and the Department of Defense.
Hey, Spiros, quick question if I can
Yes.
interrupt.
Yeah.
So question is, what's the time frame on DOE money? And I'm guessing that means, from start to finish or...
Yeah. So once we announce, the best thing to look at Lithium America's website too. The day the announcement, how the announcements came, and then when he acquired the loan. So the announcement, once you make the formal application, right? You make that public. It'll be a public press release. It'll be 18 months, right? And they're pretty strict about that. I thought that means about 2 years. They're like, no, not 2 years. 18 months. So roughly within the 18 months of your official commencement of your application. So we're working right now with the Department of Energy. There are various things that we have to do and complete before we make that final application. The key hurdle is to complete the feasibility study. We did that, right? One of the things that we have to do is prove to the Department of Energy that the final product that we produce can be used by a domestic user, by an OEM. So Bill and the team right now are working, and I think BMO is helping us on this as well, with finding sending our final product to various OEMs or domestic users in the United States, where they can test our product with their batteries and to see how it works, how well it works. So once that's completed, that's another check mark. But the biggest check mark is you need to have a partnership has to be in place. Not a final partnership, but at least the initiation of like a letter of interest that a partnership looks like they're willing to come in to take down a small percentage of the capital expenditures that's needed. And we saw that with LAC when General Motors came in about 6 months later or 4 months later, they commenced their loan, and now with a final adjustment of their contract with General Motors, they're going ahead and getting the full 2.3 billion.
Well,
So
and not
18 months is the answer.
okay. Appreciate that. And then you made me think of something else.
Sure.
You talked
Sure.
about the product testing
Yeah.
with the OEMs.
Mhm.
Not to put you on the spot, but any sense on if they're in if people are testing that now, when you might get approval or confidence that it will work?
Oh, we're quite confident it's going to work. We produce really high purity lithium carbonate, and the OEMs will send us the specs, what they're looking for. We just adjust it to what they need, and sometimes they just want the product and they make the adjustments themselves. But we're not worried it doesn't work. It's lithium carbonate. It's lithium carbonate. It's
Okay.
battery grade. Yeah, so that's not an issue. What I can't wait to hear, when I know that it's been sent and I know they've received it, I'm excited to make a big announcement that we are now officially sent lithium carbonate to various OEMs. I don't know if I can disclose who, but because it could be misleading. But there'll be quite a few OEMs that'll receive the product, right?
Terrific. That's it for questions now. I'll let you continue on.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Okay, like I said earlier, it's one of the biggest deposits in North America. It's and the measured, indicated, and proven category. So it's low grade, but it's a very big deposit. It's flat, it's at surface. Comparing it to Lithium Americas, they have high grade, but it's below surface. So, but there's high grade, so high grade always wins. Our case is low surface, but because it's low grade, but because that's surface, there's no overburden. It's soft. No drilling or blasting are required. You just gotta grab it. We just grab it, bag it, crush it, and then run it through the system. So it's really easy to use. The feasibility study results that came out, phase one is looking to run at a mining rate of 7,500 tons per day to produce roughly 13,000 tons of annual lithium carbonate production. The capex for that is about 1.5 billion. And most people at that point they called me up and said, my God, that's 1.5 billion. That's way too expensive. That you can't build that. How can you build a mine? You guys have $10.5 million in the treasury, and where are you going to get the 1.5 billion? And it's like, there's a couple things there. One, it's not expensive. 1.5 billion is the cost of bringing a claystone project to production in the United States. So if you look at Lithium Americas Thacker Pass and you compare it to our project, if our project was a lot more expensive than their project, you can say, oh, this project is expensive, right? If it's a lot cheaper, you can say it's a very, very cheap project. We're pretty much par with what Lithium Americas CapEx are. We're looking at phase one here too. So it's not that it's an expensive project, it's the reality of what the costs are for lithium projects in the United States, right? And in order for companies like us or Thacker Pass or Ioneer to move these projects towards production, it does require the help of the Department of Energy, Department of Defense to kind of step in and bring in those low interest loans. And they are doing that. Up to 80% of our capex, in this case, our total capex of 1.5 will be the first issue. But overall, the entire capex will be looked at to see how they can bring this project fully into production. But I do want to point out that unlike all the other companies that are out there, our OPEX is really low at $2,766 per ton. That is spectacularly low. So that's something we're very, very proud of. And of course, and that's because of the sodium hydroxide that we're going to be producing as a byproduct. I'll talk about that in a little bit. It's a credit. So NPV rate is about 8%, sorry, 3.16%. The RRR is 17.2%. And we used a price of $24,000 per ton. And some people are saying to me, well, it doesn't make sense. Why would you use 24,000 when it's trading at 10,000? Well, we're not going to production today. We're looking to go to production in the next, 3, 4, 5 years or so, whatever it's going to be, which is more or less the same time rate where Lithium America is going to be in production. And Lithium America's project was using 24,000. Thacker Pass used $24,000 per ton. Fast markets, benchmark, all speculate that the price of lithium is going to average out in the next 5 years around $24,000 per ton. And we wanted to make sure that, we're a claystone project, LAC is a claystone project. It's easier for everybody to kind of compare apples to apples and, by using the same price range as 24,000, right? We do offer other base price scenarios, and I'm sure every big corporation or bank has its own price target, but 24,000 for us is probably the safest way and the most logical way to kind of, look at this project and move it forward.
Spiros, if I can interrupt you before
Yeah.
you continue on one more time, sorry. A question came in. When you talk about the opportunities for government assistance on the loans, and you look at the 3 different phases here, do you apply for a loan for just phase 1, or do you do all 3 at once and just get a portion the amount for phase 1?
Oh, that's a good question. They look at everything, right? They look at what your phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 is going to be. They're not going to give you everything on to phase 3 because they want to see what phase 1 is going to do. So depending, but they will be staggered, right? So, but it gets more complicated. If partner X kind of comes in and says we're going to start off with phase 1 and 2 combined, right? Then the loan application becomes 1.5 plus 650 million. So it's about 2.1 million or whatever it's going to be, 2.2 billion. I mean, so that's your application you make at that point, the initial application with the additional, after can get up to an additional 1.3 or 80% of the 1.3 billion required to take the project into the 3rd stage. But that's after, 11 years. So the formal application, although they'll see all 3 scenarios, it's going to be what we're going to start with. And most likely it could be this scenario, phase 1, but depending who the partnership is, most companies would say, I'm not going to do 1.5 billion and then do 650 million later. Let's do a combination of these 2 together, run it at 27,000 tons per day, 15,000 tons per day to 27,000 tons per annum to see where we're at. That's going to be the scenario, right? So we broke this out more for just to show people kind of what it could be. But the scenario most likely would be this combination of phase 1 and phase 2. At least that's in my opinion.
Terrific. No, appreciate that.
Yeah.
And once again, I'll let you continue on.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, I couldn't give like a complete straight answer. I mean, I could say, yeah, it's phase 1 only, but most likely if you were an Albemarle or GM or a Tesla, whoever, you're going to combine phase 1 and phase 2 at the same time. So that's how it works. Okay. All right, let's move forward here. CapEx. Well, one of the key things why the CapEx was so high earlier, oops, sorry, I'm bouncing around here, was so high is because of the chlor-alkali plant. The chlor-alkali plant's roughly $500 million in phase 1, right? And an additional $500 million in phase 3. So it's using chlor-alkali is what's building the chlor-alkali plant is what makes this project a lot more expensive, or I should say, which makes it more expensive than what we anticipated earlier on. But that chlor-alkali plant does produce that sodium hydroxide, which is as a credit note and drops down our OpEx significantly, right? So if I go down here, I'm going to move over a little bit more here, looking at sodium hydroxide as a byproduct. You can see here right away that it's used throughout the industry, from soaps to bleaches, water treatment, etc. It's used, a lot of it's used in the mining space, and the price that we use for sodium hydroxide was $600, right, per ton. The price trading right now is roughly anything between 750 to 1,500 to 1,200, so around $900 per ton would make more sense, but we base it more conservatively in $600 per ton. And there is currently no sodium hydroxide plants anywhere in the west coast of North America. Everything's in the east coast. So in this case, we have a market not just next door to us in Nevada, but also in California, which we have a huge opportunity to use this sodium hydroxide byproduct that we create. I'm going to backtrack a little bit just to talk about our chlor-alkali plant. Most traditionally, other projects like our plan of our pre-feasibility study was using hydrochloric acid to strip away the lithium from the claystone. We went a different route. One of the reasons we changed it was because the price of sulfuric acid had gone up dramatically, around 300% over the last 3 years or so. And number two, it's hard to kind of bring in, let alone a little bit dangerous too. So it's hard to kind of bring in. And when you do try to get it, if we knew we had to compete against Lithium America, they're a much bigger company than we are, that they would probably win at every single time. So our team started looking at something a little bit more natural. You know, we have a lot of salt water in the area. There's a lot of salt and there's brine operations next door. So we started using you know, the brine that's there to source out the sodium chloride. And we found that it worked really, really well with our system, really, really efficiency. And you could say, well, why didn't other companies try to do that? Well, I think because other companies had a more advanced stage, their feasibility was almost complete, and perhaps they were working with various parties and they couldn't make the switch already, so they were stuck with sulfuric acid. And there's nothing wrong with sulfuric acid at all, right? But by choosing a different route, we found that it helps us a lot by lowering our OpEx, where it's safe, we're not trucking in a dangerous chemical, and we're not competing with anybody that's nearby at all. Okay. Let's move here a little bit. We talked about the highlights of the feasibility study earlier. Just about kind of how our lithium extraction facility now, how it works. The way I like to explain it is this: like, we take the clay, from the site, we take it, bag it, like I said earlier, we crush it, we put it through an ion exchange system. We leach it. We leach about I think it's what 85% of the lithium comes out, and then from the claystone, when we take that solution and we run it through the DLE. And the way I explain it, at least to my family and friends, the direct lithium extraction process, think of that as a Brita filter. So you're taking your concentrated lithium solution, right? It's got some impurities in there, and you run it through the DLE, right? And the direct lithium extraction process, it then recovers around 90% of just around 95%, I think it is, of the lithium from the claystone, and from the lithium in the solution, and you create this really concentrated lithium solution, and then we just evaporate that, and we recover an average around 78 or 80% of the lithium gets recovered. It's a very simple process, and now we're doing it on site. We announced in September that we've officially make lithium carbonate on site. We used to send it out to Saltworks, which is based out of Vancouver, Canada. But now we're doing it on site and getting really good 99.5% purity grades. So we're really, really excited about that. And like I said earlier, we're at the process now where we're taking samples that we created on site and sending it to various end users, which could be prospective partners at the same time. From the ESG, can't underestimate how important ESG is. All the initial baseline studies have now been completed. We're commencing our permitting process now. They've asked us to update some certain studies, which we've done, submitted everything, all in place. Our project is designed to have very, very minimal, and impact on the grounds. And as you saw in the opening slide, there's not much out there. It's flat. It's a desert. There's no rare plants or bunnies or townships or anything. It's just it's just a flat, quiet desert adjacent to the only lithium producing project in North America. We are looking to use renewable energy like solar energy. Our water is 100% recyclable. We do have water rights, so where all the water gets recycled. And of course, it's Central Nevada, where the communities always need jobs, and we're able there to provide various jobs for the community. So moving forward, by the end of the year, what do you expect the catalyst to be? Well, obviously the complete, we want to, oh, sorry, I should start off at the beginning, where we want to take our product, send it off to various OEMs. Number two, wrap up the plan of operations and then initiate our NEPA permitting process. The permitting process will take roughly 18 months, so we'll call it 2 years to complete. It could be faster, but I'd rather stay conservative and say 2 years. And then if we get it done faster, that's great. But 2 years to get that done. We'll continuously look at the marketing sodium hydroxide to see if we can get a better rate than $600 per ton. And the most important thing is, we're obviously working with the Department of Energy and Department of Defense for various grants and loans, and working with the Bank of Montreal to bring in a strategic partnership, right? So we hope to have a partnership within the next 12 months to take down a significant part of the CapEx, and then let us go forward with the DOE and DOD, right? So just to conclude here, we're one of the most advanced projects in the state of in the United States, with one of the lowest operational costs as well. The project is situated in a tier 1 jurisdiction, according to the Fraser Institute, the best place to permit a mine, and we are at a permitting phase as we speak. We do own our own water rights. We've produced lithium carbonate on site, which makes us one of the few companies to be able to provide an end-to-end process from clay to product. And of course, our pilot plant's been operating safely for over 3 years, and we have demonstrated that this project can work on a pre-production level at operating at 1 ton per day. And that's it. I'll just take some questions.
Perfect. Spiros, thank you very much for the presentation. Great information as always. There's a handful of questions, and just a
Sure.
reminder for people on today's call, if you do have questions, please type them in using the navigation pane at the bottom of the screen. Click on the Q&A button, and we'll get to those in the order that they come in. So I'm going to go through the questions in the order, Spiros. Some of these I think you addressed during the presentation, but we'll ask them again just to make sure people have the answer. If you know that you've already said them, then you can sort of go through them fairly quickly. So first one, how much money is left in the bank account, and what is the monthly burn rate? And then part 2 of that, will Century require private placement in 2025?
We have $10.5 million in the treasury, which is more money than most 90% of the lithium companies out there. That's for sure. We do not require any additional funds at this point. Will we raise money in 2025? Give me a $2 stock, $2.50. Yeah, I'll raise some money. I'd rather have a heavier treasure chest. I would be pushing management to raise capital at a new 52-week high. But we're not in a position right now at trading at 40, 50 cents to raise capital. That dilution is ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Not at all. But down the road, yeah, we'll probably raise capital, but it'll be at a much, much, much higher price. And it's good to raise capital when you break every 52-week high. And traditionally, what you would want to do if things go perfectly well, the price of lithium goes up, where our company is extremely undervalued. And as more and more people become aware of how advanced we are, and we get the price of the stock kind of moves up, we get to formally apply to list our project in the New York Exchange, right? Or Nasdaq. And at that time, you would try to do you would probably raise capital at the same time, and you make the listing process on the New York Exchange or on Nasdaq Exchange, which is what you typically tend to do. But again, that would be north of $2, so nothing to worry about now.
Okay, next question. So you mentioned a partnership to move the project forward. With the DFS completed, has Century been approached by potential partners?
Obviously, I can't talk about something in detail like that, but we do have a group of companies that we talk to, and BMO continuously speaks on our behalf and discusses our project with various potential partners. But the market is weak right now, right? So it's just starting to pick up. So if the market's hot, everybody wants to spend money. When the market comes low, deals aren't done very often. Most companies saying, "Oh, we're hurting. Our stock is down. We're keeping we're producing less lithium now. The price of our byproduct, our product now is cheaper. So we're not looking to acquire things." So things take longer. But now things speed up. If the market turns around, and we expect that in 2025, we're going to have a pretty good lithium market, a much better lithium market, I should say. If that's the case, then we'll start seeing more deals come into play. But like I said, there's been a few companies that we're talking to. BMO continues to introduce our project to various companies. And to put this in perspective, I believe Lithium America spoke to what, 80, 85 different end users, different companies, before they signed a deal with General Motors. So there's a lot out there, right? So we're talking to a lot of people.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
And then a related question to that, regarding the partnerships. I think you mentioned in the presentation that partnership expectations were sometime in the next 12 months is the
Yeah.
goal. What else, if anything, would need to be achieved or completed on the company side of things that a partner would be looking for?
We don't have to. We've done everything. They're not looking for us to do anything different. We've got a feasibility study done. We're producing lithium carbonate on site. Our pilot plant is actually a demonstration plant right now. We're going to be there. They probably want to test our product that we produce. So let's just say it's GM or Tesla, whoever. They want to see the product and how it uses. I'm sure even Albemarle will want to test our product as well. But that's the process we're commencing right now. So that's nothing that we're worried with. But yeah, we've completed we've done everything we're supposed to do. Obviously, there's some detailed engineering it's ongoing right now to bring the price. We think we can lower the cost of the chlor-alkali plant a little bit, improve our DLE results, improve our. I mean, that's going to be ongoing forever, technically. But hopefully, we can bring down the cost of overall the capex. But they're not really looking at that right now. I think we've achieved everything we're supposed to achieve, and they're pleased with it. And it's just a matter of them getting excited in the lithium space. And I think
Perfect.
that's starting to happen.
Yep. Well, clearly, the developments in
Yep.
the share price recently have indicated such.
Yeah, that's right.
So the next question, the feasibility study had recommended some work programs. Has Century started or contemplated any of those?
Um, yeah, there's potential. We've done some work programs, some smaller stuff, but most of the stuff we're doing is focusing on the pilot plant. To do additional drilling right now, I don't see that happening. Um, I would be surprised if management said, "Yeah, we're going to put a drill program." We got a huge resource. Unless we have some high grade area that can make a difference, that there's no real reason to kind of expand the project, right, in any way. So, I think it's fine. Oh, which reminds me, the gentleman earlier, or the person earlier, talked about burn rates and stuff. Burn rates can fluctuate, right? And the biggest burn rate is your pilot plant. And that could be quite costly to operate it. And we are operating the pilot plant right now, just doing various tests, but eventually over the next month or so, it's going to probably shut down after it produces the byproducts, produces a product. It's going to slow down, I should say. And we're a very small company, so our burn rate can be very, very, very light. About $1 million per year almost. So we've got lots of time. But it'll fluctuate depending what's happening on the pilot plant. We've got no drilling, so we don't expect to have any drilling right now. So we're not looking to expand things. So the market is softer. So when the market is softer, we slow down our marketing sides, for example. Everything kind of slows down. There's no use in promoting a project when no one's looking, when no one's listening. So everything kind of slows down.
Okay. Next question for you. 99.5% quality is battery grade. However, an independent contractor has been able to achieve 99.9% purity. What is Century doing to achieve 999 purity from the pilot plant processing? And is there a benefit to that?
Having 999 purity, sure, there's a benefit in the sense that you can use it across any kind of electric vehicle, from crossover vehicles to a regular EV vehicle. But I don't think we're going to try to achieve higher. I think having 99.5, and that's a number which we call it battery grade, and that's kind of what the community regards as battery grade. But even if you gave 99.2 to an end user, they will be able to use it in a way that makes sense for them. So the grade, the purity, yeah, it's important, but it's not that important to have it in there. So we're pretty happy achieving 99.5. We've achieved 99.98 and 999, and we believe that we can. I think it was 99.95, yeah. And I think we can achieve that again. But that is not our main goal at this point right now. Our main goal is to get this product to the domestic users so they can test it, so we can bring in a partnership, make that apply to formally start the application form with the Department of Energy, get a grant from the Department of Defense, if possible, and move this project forward. That's what we're looking for, right?
Excellent. Question from Steven here. How many times can the water be recycled?
I think that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think it's a problem of having it continuously recycled because it's just water in this case, right? So, and we have enough water to run our operation for the first, was it 5 years from phase one, for the first 5 years. So it's perfectly fine. We don't need any extra U water, right? But I'm not actually 100% sure on that question. But I think it's indefinite, but I might be wrong on that. I really don't know. I'm not technical. I'm sorry.
No, fair enough.
Yeah. I don't want to mislead anybody either. So if you can email me that question, I can talk to Bill and the team and get a proper answer. But if I had to answer right now, I think it's not an issue to continuously recycle. That's how I see it.
And I would agree with that, but yeah, I will follow up on that for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So next one says, excellent presentation. How does the company quantify the lithium resource reserves in terms of proven and probable versus other components?
Well, your proven and probable versus your measured and indicated. It's just the spacing of your drilling that goes into place, right? So if you drill, from here to here, whatever the distance is going to be, that could be, it shows that it's indicated that you're going to have something in between. If it's further apart, it's kind of an inferred, you're inferring that there's lithium in between. And measured means that you got pretty tight spacing. Proven and probable means that this can be mineable. So it's even more detailed. The some people say keep drilling it. But lithium, our lithium deposit is flat. I'll show you this. It's like this. It's like a hockey puck. It's like a coal deposit. So if we drill from here to there, and we'll know more or less what the how much lithium we have. And we've pretty much outlined the area that we know what it's there. And we get ourselves a 40-year mine life from this proven improbable. To drill it even more at this particular point, and we know that there's enough lithium out there to really be over 100 years. That's why we have the name, we call ourselves Century Lithium, because we believe we have a 100-year deposit. But, we would require more drilling just to prove it up. But we know, like a coal deposit, if you have something here, you have something there, it's going to be pretty flat and consistent. And it's not a high priority right now to spend our treasury on drilling a project, which we already know what the results are going to be. If we had an area which was high grade, that's a different story, because you can use your high grade to start your operations and bring down the cost of everything, right? But it's pretty much consistent our grade.
Excellent. So there's one last question in the queue,
Sure.
and it's the magic 8-ball question. So what is the share price projection for 2025 from either from my side or from your side, and what catalyst will give it the boost that we need? So before you take that, I'll give you my thoughts.
Mhm.
So terrific question. It's always the question that people want to know. If I look at this, and I go back to November of 2021, the stock then was trading at, I believe in Canadian dollars, at around $2.60 a share versus where it's trading today. So significantly higher back then, but arguably, and the argument is quite easy, that the company is far stronger, better, less risky than it's ever been, and that the share price currently doesn't reflect all of those advancements, and that truly the share price is a reflection on the price of lithium today. And if the lithium price had stayed the same or gone down slightly, this company would be significantly higher. Without giving a share price, the answer is much, much higher on my side.
Yeah,
So I'll let you
I
go.
would agree with you. I work for the company. It's illegal for me to give out projection where the price of the stock could be. Way too forward of a statement, especially when recording this. Is like I don't do it anyways. I would never do it being recorded. Yeah, because I would get my wrist slapped and lose my job by doing that. No, but we do see it is. You're right. The stock is currently being reflected by the price of the lithium market in general. And it's frustrating. And I've talked to some long-term shareholders and said, we never got that run. And the thing is that when I joined the company and we saw it, like I said, it was at 70 cents when I joined it, and it was such an easy story to talk to. Just when I introduced it to the people that I knew from the silver industry and other gold industry that I worked in, everybody just seemed to get it right away. The institutional market understood it. They believed it, and it didn't take much to move the stock. Within 6 months, it was from 70 cents to 250 and kind of going forward. But, that's the thing about using the 8-ball. No one knows what's going to happen. A war starts in the Ukraine, and we figured out, that's going to be easy war for Russia. Just win that pretty fast, right? A couple months. No, it's been a few years and they're still going. Russia was losing at one point. I think they're still are losing in a sense. But I mean, it's complicated. Inflation comes in, and the price of lithium drops, the Chinese economy collapses, all these things that happen, these variables that affect us. And just when we got things right, just as we were starting to move 250, and I remember telling my wife around Christmas time, I could see us being at $5 pretty easy. This is back in March in 2021, 22, because everybody else was trading at a much higher space. And then, things go wrong. I mean, overall, in the macroeconomic world, something happens and it affects us. But you're right. We are extremely undervalued. This company, when I joined them, not very many people knew who we were. We went through a name change. We promoted it to every institutional investor that's out there. Unfortunately, it was mostly at a time when the institutions were not buying. And some people say, well, that's a waste of time and money talking to institutions when you know they're not buying. No, it doesn't work that way. You need to be in their forefront. They need to know who you are, what you're doing, how much capital you have, where you're at. So one day, when they get the call saying we need to buy lithium, I need 5 lithium companies that are advanced stage, say North American advanced stage lithium companies. I want to make sure that Century Lithium is on the top of that list, right? So that's what we've been trying to do, making sure that we're at the top of that list, because we believe the price of lithium now is starting to make a swing. I spoke at Benchmark's World Tour Conference or seminar in New York last week, and pretty much everybody believed there that you're seeing the price of lithium starting to make starting to make some significant moves in 2025. And if that's the case, we'll see the price of lithium, the price of lithium starts to go up. And as we continue with our executing on our catalyst with loans, partnerships, showing that our product can be used by various OEMs, permitting processes start. There's no red flags out there. No one's protesting us or stopping us. Everything seems to be going forward. I think that'll reflect very, very positively on the share price. So I'm very, very confident that this project will be a real success story. Right. Truly believe that.
Yeah, and one thing that we can do after this, I do have some of the most recent research reports from the analysts, and so I can forward those out to everybody on today's call. And they have price targets that are north of $2.
That's right.
So without us giving you a share price, that's where they're coming in at.
Yeah, and they're not paid, right? So these are not paid newsletter writers that say what their price is. They do their own research for their own clients, and they provide this is what they believe it's going to be. So make that clear.
Another question from Ken. Says Spiros, sorry, late to the show here, but can you expound on who you've had discussions with in various government agencies and where those discussions currently are? I don't know if you want to be able to try to recap those.
Yeah, it's really the Department of Defense and the Department of Energy. Those we're having initial conversations with them. They're telling us how to make applications, what they're looking for. They have mentioned like a series of check marks you have to have, right? Feasibility study completed, check, right? All these things have to be done. Pilot plant operating, check. Producing on-site production to demonstrate that your project is commercially viable, check. Provide that the product can be used by various OEMs. That's we're working on that one. And one of the other key ones is going to be partnership or an indication towards a partnership. So we're working with BMO on that, obviously, and to kind of go forward. So there are various things that they're informing us what to do, because once you make the application, you can't say, oh shoot, I gotta change something. No, once you make it, it's concrete. So it gets accepted or rejected, and if it gets rejected, you can't apply again. It's a one-time application only. So we're very, very careful how we make that application. We have been talking to the Department of Energy now for about a year, really, on what they expect us to do. And I can say that they have informed us that, like they did with Lithium America, that they were willing to give us up to 80% of a low interest loan of up to 80% of our total capex that we have. So they're quite serious out there that they will be doing this, and we're seeing that happen today with LAC and the General Motors deal going through.
So, and thank you for all those answers. I don't see any further questions in the queue. I noticed that we're coming up to our sort of 1 hour mark, which is our target time frame. Let me throw in 2 questions that are sort of summary intent behind them, and you can add to them whatever you wish. So first one is, given all the positives that we've talked about, one, what keeps you up at night? And then two, sort of the opposite of that, what are you most excited about going forward? Yeah, turn that over to
Okay.
you.
Permitting always keeps me up at night. It always scares me. I know I can downplay it in the sense like, oh, we got no red flags. There's nothing that sits, no townships, no parks, no, anything that's nearby. But it's pretty flat. Let me just go to the opening slide here. Like there's nothing there, right? But that being said, and it's adjacent to the only producing lithium project, you guys never know. It's permitting is an issue. Once we get the permits have been approved, and then I could sleep peacefully. That's always been something that keeps me up at night, right? So you can never downplay, oh, it's a piece of cake. We're going to get permitting easily, right? No, no, no. You can never use the term permits and easy ever in a sentence together. We feel confident we'll be fine, right? I feel very, very confident about that. But that does keep me up at night. And your second part of the question was, what makes me most excited?
Yep.
Initially, I can't wait to get our product out there to various OEMs. Because that could be a big change for us, right? It could be a big step. It can make a big difference out there. Because that's suddenly, everybody from Mitsubishi to Tesla to, GM and whoever is out there, Chrysler, Stellantis, everything, they'll look at this and say, yeah, this stuff is amazing. It works. It's great. And they get to dig deeper into the project. But the real big thing is partnership. I can't wait sometime between, it could happen next month, it could happen next year, but somewhere in the next 12 months, we should bring in a partnership. And that to me makes the biggest difference in the world, because that means now we're able to really grow this project, do everything we want to do, see the price of lithium slowly go up as well. We can't fight the general market, but we know we have a partner, and the price of lithium is not going to remain, flat 10,000 forever. It's going to shift, just like the way gold goes up and goes down, copper goes up and goes down, uranium goes up, comes down. Right now, we're in a down cycle. We know it's going to go back up. I've been doing this for over 20 years, 25 years now. So, once lithium starts moving up, we get to list on NASDAQ. We get to do a lot of more exciting things, build this project, and really provide the United States with a first-class lithium mine. That makes me excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Spiros, that's the end of our presentation. Let me say thank you to you for talking about the company, its opportunities going forward, and the excitement that you have for the company. To the people who are on today's call, thanks for joining us. Appreciate all the questions. As mentioned, I will send out analyst reports to everybody on today's call. So look for that today or tomorrow. And with that, I wish everyone a terrific rest of the week.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Spiros.